Hi everyone, welcome back to another I Create For You ghost story out of the Yellowstone Ghost Stories book. We have already done the part 1, this is part 2, and possibly part 3 together. I did the Phantom Child out of the Haunting of the Old Faithful Inn. So we're on to the Headless Bride, and if I have a moment, depends, we'll do the Husband Returns. If not, that'll be another day. Okay, the Headless Bride. The Headless Bride of Old Faithful Inn is one of my favorite stories. It's about a mysterious but timid young lady. We first read of her in a local newspaper more than 10 years ago. Fascinated, we started asking questions. Most of the staff at the inn knew some of her story, but no one knew much. We finally traced it to George. George is the author of this sad tale of the lonely apparition. At the time we spoke to him, he was the inn's manager. He told us that the Headless Bride appeared at the insistence of visitors who for years pressed him for a ghost story. Little did he know that his beautiful and haunting spirit would endure for decades. During the fall of 1982, George was a bellman and he was finishing up the summer season. He and another employee were closing the inn in preparation for the long winter ahead. While reading in his room, a little past midnight, George heard someone down the hall. Knowing that everyone was supposed to be gone, he put down his book and walked to the balcony, overlooking the lobby. Looking in all directions, he saw nothing, so he returned to his room and his book. 15 minutes later, he heard the same noise. Once again, he put down the book, went to the balcony, and this time checked the halls of the old house. Again, he saw nothing. Finally returning to his room, he heard the noise again, and it was louder than ever. George ran onto the balcony, where he was just in time to see a transparent figure ascend from the crow's nest high above the lobby. The figure was draped in a white flowing gown. It was a young woman, not much older than a child, and she was carrying, tucked under her arm, her head. George called out for the other employee, and they left the inn that minute and did not return. That winter, while doing research in the library at Missoula, Montana, George discovered there had been a death, perhaps even a murder, at the inn in the summer of 1914. It took place in room 127. A couple who had just gotten married came there to spend their honeymoon. What seemed to be a grand and glorious day for the two newlyweds eventually turned into a nightmare. There was an argument, a fight, and the groom left, never to return. It was thought by everyone that his young bride, overcome with grief, had locked herself in their room, refusing food or service of any kind. After a few days, the staff became rather worried about the young lady, so the manager sent a member of the housekeeping staff to room 127 to see if she could be of assistance. When the young bride would not answer the door, the housekeeper opened it and found the young bride lying in the bathtub in a pool of blood without her head. In time, more pieces of the tale surfaced. Investigations found that the young girl of 15 was the only child of a rich and affluent family, and she was heir to a $1 million shipping firm in New York City. She had fallen in love, however, with a family servant much older than she. Their affair was discovered, and the girl immediately fell from her father's grace. He saw through the ambitious man's plans of marriage in order to join the family business. The daughter refused to listen to her father and insisted they be wed. So the father agreed to a quiet wedding and sent them for a honeymoon and life without further family embarrassment. By the time the couple had reached Yellowstone and the inn, the young man had managed to gamble away all of the money which was meant to last them until he could obtain employment and procure property. The young bride was sent by her husband to contact her father by telegram and petition for more money. Her father refused to send money, but instead offered to send a train ticket for his daughter to return home. At this news, the husband became livid, and the couple fought all night. When the sun rose the next morning, the young bride was dead, and her groom had disappeared. The bride's father was notified by park officials, and he arrived heartbroken a few days later. All news concerning his daughter's death was hushed to discourage any chance of scandal. Eventually, the bride's missing head was found in a corner of the crow's nest at the inn, but by then her body had already been disposed. When all of his daughter's affairs had been put in order, the father returned to the family home in New York City. His life resumed as though nothing had happened, and his daughter was not spoken of again. Now, almost a century later, it is late in the old faithful inn, as the pianist puts away his music and the lobby and mezzanine slowly become deserted. There are far-off echoes of dishes from the closed dining room, and the night clerk at the front desk looks over tomorrow's checkouts. Someone from housekeeping straightens the chairs around the gigantic fireplace. Everything is in order, just like every other night. And, just like every other night, promptly at midnight, she appears. But only those who believe in her see her as she slowly ascends the crow's nest. She seems to be floating, but one cannot be sure. What is sure is that she is headless. As she reaches the bottom step, she turns, and then you can see what she has tucked under her arm, her head. They say she haunts only the old house, which is the original part of the inn. This, of course, is because it existed at the time of her death. She seems to roam endlessly, looking for her husband. Finally, standing just outside her room, she realizes he has not returned, and she sadly disappears. Ooh, that's a gruesome story, isn't it? Let's see here. I'll get her drawn up here the best that I can. And then if I have a little bit of time, I'll have to check the time. And if I have a little more time, I'll do the husband. Nasty bugger. So I'm going to just draw her the best that I can. I'm going to do it differently, like she's walking toward her room, with her head tucked under her arm. So let's see. Hopefully you can see me. There we go. Move it over there a little bit. I was working on some hats, and my camera got kind of moved a little bit. My camera holder, the tripod that I'm using, got kind of moved a little bit, so. I'm going to make her wearing gloves, arm gloves. Back then, I don't know what all they wore, but we'll see what I can come up with here. I do not know if she has long hair or short hair or what, but this is going to be her head, the back of her head. Didn't really say too much about her hair. Basically because she was headless, I would assume. But they still didn't say nothing like what it looked like. Okay. Her gown. And let's see, I want to make this just a little bit more narrow here. This might work better. I'm kind of pressing harder so you can see. You're kind of far up there. Okay, now she would be, if she had a head, she would be wearing a veil. So I'm going to do a flowy veil here. That's her veil. And that's her head. Okay. There she is, headless. Sort of. And there I just knocked my book over. Okay, let's see where we're at. 11 minutes. I think we could do him. Let me see if I can get that page back up here. And we'll do the husband. The husband returns. Let's see how long this one is. Oh, yeah, we can do him. Alrighty. Now, get situated here. The husband returns. Perhaps the story isn't over. You see, the third ghost at the Old Faithful Inn may be connected to our bride. While tracking down her story in 1994, I went on a tour through the inn. After the tour, I asked the guide what she knew about the bride or any other haunting. I was quickly assured there were none. Knowing different, I went to the information desk and inquired there. I was surprised when the young red-headed employee said, "You mean the sailor?" Well, that was a whole different story, and I asked him what he knew. He said in the 1970s, reports started coming from the staff and visitors that someone or something was frequenting the halls of the inn, rattling doors and shaking windows. At first, it was thought it was the inn's security staff checking to make sure everything was tightly closed up. Then the first sighting occurred. It was of an older gentleman, a sailor type, dressed in merchant marine clothing of the early 20th century. Most encounters were by those who spotted him inside the inn, checking unlocked rooms, but others found him outside, peering through the windows. The bizarre thing is that this man, when described, was a much older version of our 1914 groom who beheaded his bride and fled into the night. Could this be the same ambitious man? The man who selfishly took his young bride from her parents? Who stole her youth and then ended her life? If so, then after more than 80 years his soul has returned as an old tormented spirit, doomed to be exiled in the very place where he committed his horrible crime. Perhaps it is the husband's punishment to search through the Old Faithful Inn for his bride, perhaps to somehow make amends. If so, he searches in vain, for their deaths took place in different decades, and their spirits will never meet because they each haunt different dimensions, and dimensions seldom intersect. He's a bit late to the party, don't you think? Okay, let's try to get this next drawing. And I'm going to make him faceless only because he is a ghost. So let's see what we can come up with. So I'll just draw. I don't have a hat for him, so I'm just going to draw a Actually, I am surprised that, well, maybe I'm not too surprised that father let her go through with her wedding, because obviously he had other intentions and wasn't a very good fit. I mean, like, at 15, you would have thunk that it would have made more sense for him to say, I don't care what you're thinking about this man. He's not the man for you, and just eventually save her life. But still, I mean, that's just, I guess I'm thinking because no 15-year-old nowadays, well, back when I was 15, would have gotten away with that too much. But I know that a lot of people back in the day married really young. So, in fact, I think 15 would have been kind of older. I know that I've heard that people have, young girls have been betrothed or married at 13, 12 and 13. So, I guess it's not too far off that a 15-year-old would get married way back then. I guess nowadays that guy would have been considered a pedophile, depending on how old he was. That's kind of yucky thought. I'm just rambling right now, but just saying. Definitely would have been considered that for sure. Boy, I got this little cheat sheet that I'm using, and these uniforms are crazy looking. I mean, I don't know who came up with these uniforms with the long tails, but I would think they would be a hindrance when you're trying to run. That's just my opinion. Lots of buttons, too. That's probably why when people go metal detecting and stuff, they are always finding a ton of buttons. We used to do that, too. We used to go metal detecting. Never really found anything worthwhile, but we got something that we want to try, though. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of magnet fishing. Well, we got a magnet, and we've been watching YouTube videos on it, and since we live so close to the river out here, we were thinking of doing that before summer ends. I mean, I went and bought that for my husband because he was always talking about it, and I thought I got tired of him saying it and we never doing it, so I just bought one. I think I got it off of Amazon. It wasn't too pricey either, and it was like a kit because you got like the magnet, the rope to tie around it, and a little it looks like this. It comes down and then it has a hook here, and then another hook up, and it's three different hooks, and you can throw that in to help gaff whatever you can't bring in all the way. Like, it might be too heavy. Man, this arm is giving me issues. In case it's too heavy, and then you can gaff it with that to help pull it up. But they give you that, and then they give you certain gloves to wear, and yeah. So it wasn't bad. It was only like 20 some bucks. And I forget what the poundage is on the magnet, but it's a heavy duty magnet, so hopefully we can do that one time before the summer ends. It was pretty cool here today. A lot cool, I should say. I wasn't prepared for it. I haven't been outside in a long while. I've been trying to get stuff done. And so we'll see if I can get this straw in here instead of yapping so much. Yeah, it was pretty cool out today. I was surprised. I had to go sell some of the towels that I made, and it was a bit chilly, to say the least, and I wore shorts today. I'm not one for cold weather, and so it was a little bit breezy, but I think it's going to be stormy, and I think that's why we had that cool weather coming in. It wasn't hot, and yesterday was nasty. Oh, yesterday was really nasty. It was so muggy out, and for me to say that, then it has to be hot, because I don't really ever complain about it being hot. I'm having trouble doing this boot, like, there we go, that one's a little bit better. He's just standing funny with his boots. And there is our sailor man in his attire. Looks like this area would be like a cream color, and this would be a very dark blue, and then up here they would have like a boat. That's another thing. Why would you have that for a uniform if it's, maybe this isn't a wartime. I'm not that good at these things, so maybe it's not a wartime, so he wouldn't get all fancied up. There he is, Mr. Faceless. Older man. And there were your 2 stories for tonight. Thanks for stopping by and listening to me ramble and talk about other things besides the stories. And hopefully you liked it. I'd like a thumbs up if you do, and share. That would help my channel a little bit, and comment if you'd like to. And you know what? I hope I get to see all you guys back in the next one. Bye for now.